Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Steve Banda. I'm a manager of security solutions at Lookout.
And this is Madhu. I'm part of product management at Lookout.
So yeah, thanks for joining us today. Very excited to be here at ElevateIT. Today we have a presentation that's going to take a look at how to secure your digital transformation. We've titled this, got sensitive data, 5 security must-haves as you move to the cloud. So what we're going to do is ultimately take you through a journey where we talk about some security trends up front, really discuss digital transformation, what that means, what it means to us, and then look at the 5 solutions in a bit of detail, right? So we'll actually kind of bring up the screen, look at a couple demos, and then some key takeaways and Q&A. Okay, so as we start this, I just think it makes sense to set some context a bit. So today's security challenges. When I was kind of thinking about this presentation, I threw down a phrase that to me sort of just resonated. It seemed to sum up the environment that we're in today and kind of the challenges that we need to consider. So, as you can see here, business moves fast, collaboration is skyrocketing, and your users and data are everywhere. I think it's hard to argue with any of these points. I mean, business moves fast, so transactions happening all the time in real time. We hustle to get to work. We expect instant results. Things are quick. Users, as you know, are working from everywhere. I mean, this is the same story we're very familiar with at this point. You're working from everywhere. You're accessing your corporate data from any device, anywhere that you are at any time. So as a result, our data is everywhere. It's across multi-cloud environments. It's on devices. It's passing through networks. So when we think about this, what does this really mean? Well, it means that from a cybersecurity perspective, the cyber threats are real. I'm not trying to create FUD here, but data breaches are the biggest security issue for organizations. I think it's the reason that we're all here, right? Just to call out a few over the past year, if you recall the Colonial Pipeline attack, exploited, stole credentials, leveraged the VPN connection to get into the environment, and then from there, basically the shutdown of that pipeline for, I think it was at least a week or so. Pfizer on the other end, right? So that was the external threat. Pfizer, internal threat. So you have an employee that's leaking sensitive data, stealing 12,000 plus or 15,000 records or so. So these are just a couple examples. Obviously, we all are familiar with the Microsoft vulnerability in Exchange. And I think the other point, too, is that these attacks have no morals whatsoever, obviously, right? Always financially driven for the most part. Attacks, if you look at the Red Cross example here, I mean, these were at-risk individuals. Their data was stolen. These people have been separated from their families. They were victims of disasters. So there's no boundaries, right? Every organization, every vertical, regardless of the situation, cyber attacks are something that we have to deal with going forward, and especially in the new environment that we face. So I think to sum this up a little bit more, if we look at some statistics, I'm just really curious here, who is concerned in the audience? If anyone has a feeling that an insider attack could happen at their organization, I'd love to just see a show of hands. Is that a concern that anybody has whatsoever? Got one, I get 2 here in the middle. Any others? Or because these stats are showing that 98%, almost everyone, feel vulnerable to an insider attack. The reason for that is it's hard to have that visibility and know if that's occurring and being able to take action to mitigate or prevent that threat. And additionally, almost half of organizations have been victim to a ransomware attack of some scale. So why does this all matter? Well, we think about the cost of a data breach, approaching $6 million on average for an organization that has sensitive data that they have to protect. This was IBM's 2021 cost of a data breach report. And then I think one of the scariest things is that we could have potentially a data breach within our environment today and not know about this until sometime after Christmas or beyond. I mean, according to this, 287 days, you could actually have a threat in your environment without even knowing. So not trying to, set this whole, fear, uncertainty, and doubt situation, but I feel like it's always important to come back to the basics, the reasons we're here. So as we transition here, digital transformation. So what does this mean? Everyone may have their own understanding of this. So I want to kind of level set around this. And I think this is a very important time when we think about digital transformation, how we're protecting our organizations, given the threats that we just saw, given the direction that business is going. So I'll start with this definition, right? It's the strategic adoption of digital technologies. So right there, you say, okay, we're making investments in technologies, new technologies, because we need to secure the future. We need to secure our business going forward. And as a result, you should have better customer and employee experiences. So I think we can all understand that if something doesn't work, it's very, very frustrating. So you can't have technology get in the way of that user experience. And you really can't do it if you're trying to retain employees, which I know is a challenge for every organization. Getting good employees, keeping them, especially these days in the technology and security industries. And managing business risk and controlling cost, right? So these are all very important. So as we move forward here, I think it's also important to know that digital transformation impacts every part of your organization. So simplifying it is also essential. And so what I want to do is, Madhu, I just want to ask you, so Madhu spends a lot more time talking to our customers. I just want to ask you, what's your perspective on digital transformation, what you're seeing in the market relative to our customers?
Yep. Sure, Steve. As we talk to multiple customers, we hear digital transformation is one of the key initiatives most of the CIOs and CISOs are driving today. And what that means for them is enterprises are looking at ways to have a better collaboration softwares, a way to better handle the data, a way to provide employees a better way to access the data. And with that comes some security risks as well. But what we're consistently seeing across organizations is this initiative to revamp their security tools and the data sets that they own today.
Excellent. Great. No, so, and that is very consistent, right? So that innovation, that investment in your security tools going forward is a key component. So another way to think about digital transformation, and this is going to be a little bit of a game here in the audience. Everyone wants to close their eyes. I'm kidding, you don't have to close your eyes, but I want you to create this mental image of, say, like 10 years ago. Now, 10 years ago, I think we were all, looking a lot better, feeling a lot better, definitely a little younger. And so, we may have been like getting home from work and we wanted to watch a movie, all right? So we go sit down on our couch, think about the movie we want to watch, and then we have to stand up, walk over to the TV cabinet. We hit that little button on the DVD player, out pops the DVD, and you're like, okay, I want to watch, Dances with Wolves. So you grab that CD, you put it in, you push it in, you go sit back down on your couch, right? Great, watch the credits scroll by. Start watching your movie. Well, today, as we all know, we don't have to do that anymore. We're older, we don't look as good, but life's a little easier because we can sit back on our couch and just use the remote, pick any movie we want. In this case, I probably would start binging my favorite series, which is Blacklist these days, and that's it. So there's a lot of, this is my way of showing the digital transformation that happened in like a very, very basic way that we all experience, right? So if we think about it, the first example, you had hardware on site. You had to deal with, what if the DVD player was broken? What if you can't find the right movie? So your choices are limited, there's more work. To now Netflix, very simple streaming service, software as a service business model. So some of the benefits of the scenario, well, no on-premise hardware to maintain or replace. And you only have to pay for what you use, consumption model, so month to month, which has implications for OpEx versus CapEx. You don't have to come up with all this upfront money to buy your DVD player and the movies you want to watch. And you don't have to worry about those future upgrades in the future. So these are the basic principles of software as a service solution, cloud-driven business model. All right, so let's apply this to today and our businesses, our organizations, and what this means. So about years ago, your apps, your users, your security stack were all on-premise. So if we picture years ago, we roll into our offices, sit down, log in, and connect to applications that were in the data center, potentially within that office, Could have had a raised floor with a data center, or maybe it was a co-location not too far. But either way, it was your data center. You had to manage it, and your security was in that data center, and your applications were also in that data center, and you were in the office. So a good experience for office users. You, at that time, also had fewer remote VPN users. So although VPN, some potential hiccups with connecting in, might take a little longer, there were fewer. So it wasn't really a thing. We didn't have to worry too much about it. And maintenance was time-consuming. Racking and stacking appliances within a data center, handling the networking, replacing one. And we haven't really talked about the DR requirements. So it's a lot going on here when you think about where we used to be in this world. There's a bit more complexity. So we shift gears, and the apps have moved out of the data center to the cloud, but not the security stack. So this probably represents the example that many of us are in today, in some fashion, I would say, because it takes time to change, right? So those appliances, that security stack that's in our data center, it's hard, you can't just rip it out. So need to have a plan for evolving. And that's where this modernizing IT security comes into play. So in this situation, it was really a poor user experience. So now that you have remote users trying to access your cloud applications, they still need to be routed through the security stack that's in your data center. So what this does is this creates what we call hairpinning, as well as the users in the office. Everyone has to go through that data stack and then out to the cloud apps. So this does create some inefficiencies. Your data is also in the cloud. So with your data in the cloud, there's security concerns that we need to discuss as well. You need to be able to make sure that your data is secure. It's no longer within your environment. And for that reason, also, the threat vectors have increased. So we looked at this a little bit earlier. But these are some of the key considerations as we're moving from that old environment with everything in the data center, and then suddenly your apps move out. So I think the other way to summarize this is that the expectation these days is that users can go directly to the cloud apps, right? So they can't do it here. So I think hopefully this is clear, hopefully, because I think many of us are in this situation today. So this next slide is showing really where we want to be. And I'm using Lookout here as Lookout Security Platform in this case, but this could be a modern security platform native to the cloud. Native being they're in the cloud delivering security solutions. So in this case, your users are remote because of the pandemic, right? Two major forces at play here. Apps have moved to the cloud, your users are remote. And for that reason, your security needs to move to the cloud because you want your users to be able to just connect right into the application, but get all of that security that used to be in their data center, plus additional security features. So this is going to deliver that seamless and secure experience. It's going to be fast, reliable, quick. There's no hairpinning of traffic. The management is simplified. And you have enhanced visibility across all of your cloud applications and your users and their activities. So this is really important because these apps have been designed to be accessed directly. They're not designed to be accessed through a data center anymore. It's directly from the user to the application. So what I want to just do is, Madhu, what are you hearing from customers about data residing in the cloud? Are there concerns there?
There are. With customers adopting multiple cloud applications, they are putting corporate data into the cloud applications. And that brings a kind of a segregation of duty kind of situation. Cloud providers are great. They hold the data at rest. So cloud providers are building significant security tools to make sure that the data at rest is protected, like encryption or role-based access controls, depending on which users can see what kind of data. That part is good. And it's up to the customer. There's also a responsibility in protecting their data. What we are seeing a lot of gaps here is the users using the data, like downloading the data into an unmanaged devices, or sharing the data to an unknown parties, or downloading it from risky locations. These are all the activities that the employees are doing themselves within the organization, causing more risk from a data breach standpoint. So that's a significant problem that our customers talk to us about.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that's a very good emphasis is on, can't control what users are doing all the time, especially these days, because you need to enable them to work the way they want to work from wherever they are, however they want, any device, any network they're on. So I think another key point is just to know that the security moves closer to those applications. So there's multiple data centers wherever you are, wherever your applications are, and through that you're able to provide that security close to the application so you have a very seamless and secure situation. So moving on here. So we're doing pretty good on time, so we'll be able to take some of our time going through what we want to show you from a demo standpoint. But at this point, I hope everyone has sort of a clear picture of when we talk about digital transformation, because you're going to hear that word a lot, I think, if you haven't already, just in different literature in the market, digital transformation. And this is really what it means, right? Apps move to the cloud. Your security needs to move to the cloud. Everything moves to the cloud. So what I want to do is let's look at these solutions in a bit more detail, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through first some of the risks, but then kind of give you like a glimpse of the product and the solution. So here you see these are common security risks that organizations really do need to protect against, right? Not to be a broken record here, but ransomware attacks, this just doesn't seem to go away, right? Data leakage via collaboration. That's something that we're going to be able to demonstrate very well today. And we touched on it, right? Users making mistakes or just collaborating with third parties. Insider threats. We use that Pfizer example, but that could be any one of us, anytime. And having that confidence to be able to see an insider threat happening and alert on that. Compromised accounts. So stolen credentials, when we think back to the Colonial Pipeline, for example. Stolen credentials is a massive issue. So whether those credentials are used today or 287 days later. And compromised devices. So how safe is your device that you're letting access your environment? I know on the mobile side, we have a lot of experience there. Number of threats that could go undetected for an extremely long time. They could have a massive impact on your resources. So we have to consider these threats and how to protect across all users, all applications. Doesn't matter what application it is, SaaS application, a private application that you put to the cloud, email, web. We need protection across all of it. So these are the 5 must-haves that I want to talk through. So the first one is getting that visibility and control into the apps and data. You need this. This is like the starting point. If you don't have visibility and control, it's hard to move forward. Stop data leakage, secure collaboration, prevent, mitigate, detect phishing and malware attacks, and comply with regulatory requirements. So we're going to step through each of these in a little bit more detail and kind of give you a glimpse at what a modern security solution should do. So back to the gain visibility and control for a minute. So at Lookout, we do talk a lot about the importance of gaining visibility into what your users are doing, your applications, and really where your data is going. Like, where is your data, where it's going, how is it being used? And getting that unified visibility across all of this is really essential. And we know this is a challenge for everyone, but this is key. And so I want to turn it over to Madhu just to be able to give you a glimpse of what this looks like.
Sure. So great security starts with gaining good visibility into your landscape. So take an opportunity to understand what your users are doing across your applications. So here is a scenario where you can get insights into everything a user is doing. For example, over the last 1 month, in this scenario, I want to find out what a user, John Williams, performed in my organization. So with one click of a button, modern tools helps you get that visibility into activities like what devices this user accessed from which locations the user accessed your corporate data, and what all applications your user touched over the last 1 month. And they may be across your landscape, SaaS, PaaS, IaaS infrastructures, all put together. And also understand what content the user touched in a single pane of a glass, and more importantly, to which external users your users shared the documents. That'll give you a very good perspective on the risk that your organization is facing today. That's one. And second, within the realm of visibility, your users are accessing going to different destinations from their devices. They're going to internet sites, they're going to multiple SaaS applications. And what we have learned from different customers is apparently most of the users are hitting some kind of a risky SaaS applications in their day-to-day life. Here is a scenario where almost 80% of the users are hitting risky sites. So use modern tools to give you that visibility into where your users are going and the risk they are posing to your organization. So these tools helps you give visibility into all the applications that your users are using, and the tools can help you identify how many of those are your corporate sanctioned applications versus unsanctioned applications. And then you can start understanding and take control of your unsanctioned applications. You may want to block those applications or put some logging events on those applications. So take those opportunities to get complete visibility and monitor your users accessing cloud applications. And the tools also will help you identify and scrub through based on categories. Like data storage is some category that we constantly hear risks coming from. Users putting data into unsanctioned cloud repositories or downloading data from malicious cloud repositories. So here there are tools available to give you that visibility and understanding what your users are accessing from. In this case, I can, with one single click of a button, understand all my users accessing Dropbox. And Dropbox is not our sanctioned cloud in our organization. So I can take actions in terms of what I should do in order to protect my organization from attacks going into or coming from Dropbox. So take that opportunity, get that visibility, and then we'll talk about a few more scenarios and how we can help organizations protect that data too.
Great, thanks, Madhu. So just a question to everybody while I got to take a quick sip of my water here. But who, just a show of hands, I mean, who is confident in their ability to have like this level of visibility across all of your cloud apps and users and data and where it's going? Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of what I expected. I mean, I feel like it's a challenge that we're seeing a lot of, and that's why this type of approach is really valuable going into the future. So what I want to do next is move forward with the next one. Stop inadvertent data leakage. So if you remember, I started this presentation, talked about the Pfizer breach. I mean, that was one example of an insider attack where that individual was authorized to access. And I know, like, coming back to this, because I think it's obviously a scary situation that we're all potentially vulnerable to. But there's that other threat that I think we should think about too, is like that happy employee that goes in every day, but they just happen to have a couple different applications, instances of the same application. Maybe it's Google Drive or Slack or whatnot, and it's a mistake. Or they send an email out and it goes to the wrong recipient. It's just a mistake, but costly one. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Madhu, who's going to give you a view into this.
Yeah, sure. Data leakages is one big risk enterprises are facing when it comes to breach notifications. And when we talk to customers, we are seeing three major methods that organizations are having a data leakage. One, imagine your employee accessing a personal Gmail account. And in this scenario, John is accessing his personal Gmail account and trying to send emails to his personal email IDs. But inadvertently, he attaches a corporate sensitive data. And take an opportunity. The tools must be able to detect these kind of destination accesses and uploading data. And here are some tools which can help you and coach the users, telling, hey, John, you're using a personal device and uploading corporate sensitive data, and redirect the users to corporate applications. The second scenario we see is today businesses are collaborating with partners and contractors. Your employees might be putting sensitive data into partners' networks too. Make sure your tools are smart enough to detect the destination of your partners and also prevent your data leaking into your partners' networks. So here we're showing some examples where you can coach the users with some policy names and remediation pages so that your users are coached automatically. The third risk we are seeing is data going into unmanaged devices. Like Steve was talking, modern enterprises and modern employees are accessing corporate data from unmanaged devices too. So there's a lot of risk coming out of there where employees can download corporate sensitive data, PII data, PCI data, HIPAA data into unmanaged devices. So make sure your security stack is smart enough to understand the context of which the user is coming from, the location, the device posture, the user group, and then be able to prevent sensitive data leakages using the modern security tools. You had a question?
Well, I was trying to figure out, so how is it able to determine that document, like, is, like, say, PI, is it based on the metadata, or is it based on the body?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we can talk at least about our platform. So the platform comes with a full-blown DLP engine, and that DLP can detect sensitive data in unstructured data sets like files, and the properties of the file, like the metadata of the file. It also can detect in structured data like tables and email subjects, bodies, and text messages, IM chat conversations, and things like those. Yeah.
And integration with data classification.
Yeah, from protection, I mean, there are two things when we talk about DLP: identifying the sensitive data, and those are locations we talked about how we identify. Once we identify what kind of remediation controls we have in place, again, it becomes very contextual. Like modern security tools must be context aware, and they have to be adaptive. Depending on the context, we have remediation controls around redacting the data, masking the data, or encrypting the data. We also integrate with some major data classification vendors like AIP, Titus, et cetera, to both read and apply their labels, protecting your data.
All right, thank you, Madhu. All right, so moving on to the next solution we want to present here. So number 3, secure collaboration with third parties. So we touched on this a little bit in the previous example, but it's easy to leak data because it's really easy to share data, right? So it's kind of the same theme, and I think the key point here is, especially when you're thinking about securing collaboration with third parties, you need to why are they taking all the food away? You need to make sure that you protect the data wherever it goes. Right? I think we can all agree on that. It's like wherever it goes, you need to make sure it's protected. Because if you're a partner and I send you sensitive information, I don't know who you're going to try to send it to, right? Or if you have sharing controls for a certain period of time, well, I want to turn that off at some point. So you need to have that level of control to ensure that it is protected at all times, wherever it goes. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me talk about secure collaboration. Today, if you look at the enterprise data, it's created in the cloud and consumed in the cloud directly. Gone are the days where we are composing a Word document and uploading it into a file storage or an NFS location. Today, we are opening a web browser, editing the data, sharing it from there. So it's a significant paradigm shift in terms of how businesses are creating the data. And the security challenges are very different in order to protect that kind of data collaboration. So make sure your modern security tools are up against that kind of creation and consumption, right? So in order for you to do that, we see risks coming from 2 events. One is users are creating the data and sharing the data to a specific set of users. Most of the cloud providers allow you to share in 2 ways. One, you can share this file to a specific set of users, and imagine this user is sharing it to 2 users. One user is a trusted partner, in this case, Grady, and I'm also sharing this to my personal ID. You may want to make sure you have a security tool that's smart enough to allow your users to share it to the right people, but also remove the untrusted people from that file, so that your data set doesn't fall in the wrong hands. And so make sure you have files. So here in this case, the platform automatically detected and removed the untrusted users from the file. In that way, you have your data protected in your organization all the time. The second method we see is, it's amazing how easy it is to make the document publicly available today. And we have seen some examples in Capital One scenario where employees have inadvertently made a S3 bucket public, and there we go, there is a data breach. So make sure your security tools detect these kind of events every time a link is shared publicly on the open internet. Make sure your tools are smart enough to detect those and be able to automatically remediate and remove public links from those, specifically files containing HIPAA, PCI, or regulatory data sets. So here is an example where the file was shared publicly, And if you see there's an icon called shared as the status, the tools can be smart enough to remove the public links and make them private automatically. So make sure your security stack is smart enough to auto-remediate these kind of inadvertent shares.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any questions on anything that we've shown so far? Just want to make sure we're addressing them along the way if there are. Okay. So this one here, this is, really kind of, when we think about phishing and malware, I mean, it's more or less, it's kind of like table stakes. I mean, you have to have this in place. Everybody has to have this in place. I think the key point here to put an emphasis on is that, we all know that phishing is a major threat vector. It enables attackers to really take a number of malicious actions. You could deposit malware. You could, such as surveillanceware, right? Major problem on mobile devices. Take over the camera, the microphone. I know Lookout actually has a few of those little cover your camera swag things too. So just the fact that they make that, right, makes a lot of sense. But you need to understand that a lot of times you're just browsing the internet, you go to a fake site because that site is masquerading as a real site. You enter your credentials, and now attacker has your credentials. And that happens a lot. So you need to understand this like broader attack surface and the fact that attackers are savvy and coming up with constantly innovating ways to capture our information, get our credentials, deposit malware. It's crazy. So we really do need to do exactly this. See how it's done.
Yeah. In the last 3 use cases, we talked about how enterprises can protect their data. But if you look at the modern attackers, they're very smart, and their whole important milestone is to gain account credentials. And they use various techniques to gain that account credentials. They phishing attacks, malware attacks to make sure they steal your credentials. So you definitely want your security stack to be up against it. And we just wanted to show you a few use cases on how we can help organizations. So here is an email with some promotional offer. Looks very similar, no problem. And as a user, I go and click a link in that. And what happens is behind the scene, this link is pointing to a malware site, and someone is trying to put a malware on your device and compromise your device. So make sure your platforms are smart enough to understand where your users are clicking the links and what kind of installers are coming onto your devices. The same experience must be on your every kind of device, maybe laptop or mobile platform. So here user is have got a message, and the link looks genuine, drive.google.com, trusted link, and the user clicks the link, and when the user clicks the link, it's trying to install a package. No problem here. Everything looks good as a user. I trust it because it came from a valid link, drive.google.com. However, apparently this installer contained a malware file. And make sure your tools, your devices are protected with software tools installed in them to detect these kind of malicious application installs. Here, the platform detect that although it's genuine from a ICE perspective, it has surveillance package in it, and take an opportunity to educate your users that this is something wrong, and they have to take some action on that before you let them use the device further. And those actions can be small things like removing those installers from those machines or devices. Once the application is deleted, we can scan the device, make sure it's green, and let the users use their devices. So protecting your devices from phishing attacks and malware attacks is one significantly important step in your organization's security journey.
Thank you. And, yes.
So I'm assuming it doesn't stop the spam text, but if you click on the link, then it can identify it as invalid.
When that
Just like an email.
That's correct. Basically, when the user clicks the link, that's when the data starts downloading. That's when we secure. Correct. Yes.
Of course. It's the only way.
Maybe many, but this is best.
Yes. Okay, so the last tip here is comply with regulatory requirements. So I think up until this point, everything that we have been showing really sort of culminates to this point where now you're in a position to be able to achieve and meet your regulatory requirements. And I know that, so you had the question around, specifically, whether it was protected healthcare information or sensitive information. Just an example of, really the need, and at the end of the day, this is essential, right? So with that said, I won't say too much more. I know, Madhu, you want to share kind of a little glimpse into what we have. And we are going to spare you a demo. This is a little bit something else.
Thanks, Steve. What we are constantly seeing is businesses are using multiple cloud applications. They range from SaaS applications. We constantly hear about Office 365, Google Workspace, Slack, Salesforce, ServiceNow, etc. So that's one dimension. Businesses are also adopting more and more infrastructure as a service platforms like AWS, GCP to run their homegrown applications. So your data today is spread across multiple landscapes and multiple environments. So as a GRC team or as a security team, make sure you have tools that can help you scan across these data stores and give you a single pane of glass and a single pane of report across where your data is and what kind of data is residing and how much exposed are you from a specific compliance or regulatory perspective, right? There are tools available to make sure they scan across your repositories, either from on-premises or cloud-based repositories, and give you some reports precisely telling how many files were scanned and how many of them were found to be violating with some kind of a sensitive data in it, which user owns that data, across which applications is this data in, and in what folders is the data in, and things like those. So leverage the modern data security platforms. And as you pick a data security platform, make sure that data security platform can consistently scan all your repositories, no matter where it is, on-prem, SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS landscapes. Okay.
All right, thank you, Madhu. Okay, any questions? Anything else at this point?
So I guess what you said, as an Android user, look out that I can call is the best I can get for protecting my Android.
Definitely yes, because we have been leaders in mobile threat defense space, and we have. The question is, she's asking if you want to protect an Android device, is Lookout the best? Yes, and our mobile threat defense platform has been very successful. We've been marked an leaders quadrant by many analysts, and we have hundreds and thousands of users using our product. So, yes. Correct. I agree. You're very much right. Being compliant is not secure. That is true. I mean, what we are talking here is more around the protecting your users' data applications. There are application security testing platforms which can protect open source and pen testing and white source testing kind of things. Yes, you're right.
Also, I don't know the order in which you display these 5 different areas in ransomware. The first one, is that in the same order? Because the first presentation where a gentleman from the FBI was also there, that most of the time it's because of compromised credentials.
Absolutely.
So that's been number one.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, you got it.
All right, thank you for the questions, guys. All right, so we're close to the end of the presentation. I think as we wrap up here, some of the key takeaways I think everybody should just kind of keep in mind, and this is really kind of taking a step back and sort of that higher level concept going forward. Hybrid workforce, it's the new norm. Right, I know we all know this, but you need to keep it top of mind because you need to be able to empower this workforce. so that the experience is really good and that they're secure. It's that simple. The next part is that apps and data are in the cloud. We've covered this in this presentation quite a bit. So with that, you need to modernize your IT security. That security needs to move to the cloud so that it's where the apps are. It's critical, whether it happens today or it happens in the future. You need to make plans to go in that direction. And it gives you the capacity to start to, with that in place, really evolve your security stack and take your applications one at a time to get there. And then really modern day threats are evolving. So as we mentioned, right, very savvy attackers constantly innovating their attack methods. So you need to be able to detect and mitigate. We've talked a little bit about mobile and prevent that unauthorized access so that data breaches are really mitigated, or the likelihood of them. So with that, I think we can turn it over, and we've had a few questions throughout, but we do have a few minutes, and we'd love to hear from anybody that is, has any questions or even an experience to share. We do have a few minutes. I don't know if there's anything anyone else wants to talk. Okay. Yeah.
So if a particular user's doing a lot of violations, does it notify that user as well? And the security team, like, hey, this person's been trying to send out.
Hey, you want to respond to that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. At least our platform has intelligence to deliver notifications to both administrators and the user himself. Yes.
And does it provide like a timestamp of like, this is the time period they've tried attempt?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, it seems like maybe we've come to a natural end here. But if you guys have any questions, we are at booth 308. Nice. Love it.